nature's most powerful and destructive storms. Each year, hurricanes kill thousands of people and cause over $25 billion of damage worldwide. And my goal is to be witness, to record, and try to understand the punishing brutality of these monster hurricanes.
This is the worst case scenario.
This whole area is likely going under.
I'm exhilarated right now.
Hurricane Katrina is now forecast to make landfall as a Category 5 super hurricane with wind speeds, sustained wind speeds of 135 to 140 knots. That's about 160 miles an hour with gusts up to maybe 200 miles an hour. And it's headed straight for New Orleans. This is the worst case scenario that people have been talking about for years and years. So it's kind of scary, but we're on our way to it.
We make our way into position right in the path of this monster hurricane.
Welcome to Gulfport. That's Katrina there. She's coming.
We started hearing the warnings that were being issued for New Orleans, just 80 miles away, and it began to really weigh on us.
Right now, New Orleans is looking pretty bad. I heard basically talk in New Orleans of flying missiles like appliances in small cars.
The story of Katrina is vast. You know, it encompasses the entire Gulf Coast. It encompasses an entire city. You know, a city that went underwater.
This is getting absolutely incredible.
We have a microcosm. We have a little tiny sliver of that vast story. Katrina was coming in with winds, sustained winds of 200 miles an hour. That's ridiculously fast. So this is a Category 5 coming straight at us. We'd never been through anything like it. We had about 6 people, plus a news crew in Gulfport in this the Hancock Bank building.
How you feeling there, Dave? I hope we don't die.
That parking garage became our home for a good few days while we filmed Katrina, and that was sort of very critical to survival in the hurricane and filming in the hurricane. And we could pop the door open and literally film out and have almost no wind and rain hitting us, and yet have just the whole hurricane screaming by, 2 feet from us.
I've never seen anything like this in my life. This is crazy.
And then we started to hear tinkle, tinkle, tinkle. Like, what is that? It was blowing the windows out at the top of the building. And you see these little pieces of glass go rolling down the street. Then Katrina, as it came in stronger and stronger and stronger, it just obscured anything beyond about 100 meters. It was just amazing amounts of water coming in. That was one of the most striking things I remember from the hurricane was the winds screaming through these broken down trees that come down. It was some of the most incredible wind I have ever experienced and ever seen.
This has got to be the eye wall.
We had a ton of debris flying around. We had one piece picked up by a little vortice, and it literally did this spin in the air. called it the decapitator. This is a big, thick chunk of steel that just got picked up and spun in the air. We watched buildings come apart in front of us. The building would be okay, and then all of a sudden, all the debris would just gone. So you had no chance of knowing when debris would go flying. So we were in that parking garage to stay safe, and otherwise we would have got killed. It was just all about this tiny sliver of this story, of what was going on top of us right now. And that's all we could do. It was very, at the time, seeing this going, wow, this is incredible. To see this, oh, this is this amazing meteorological phenomenon. But then, you know, I started to, hear stories a little bit about the amount of destruction that was going on. When things began to settle down in Gulfport, we ventured out of the parking garage not knowing what to expect.
Oh, we got air conditioning unit down. Every window in this thing smashed out. Oh yeah.
And then we started to walk around and see some of the destruction.
That's a 2x4 through the wall. The remains of a bar.
There was a bar that had basically become an indoor swimming pool.
This whole thing is just absolutely devastated.
The building beside it was completely destroyed. This building had collapsed in on itself. There were 18-wheeler truck backs that were just sitting in a parking lot.
Damage here is nothing short of catastrophic.
The stories we began to hear from out and around New Orleans began to get horrifying because we knew the levees had broken. It was a major, major disaster. The devastation was far-reaching, but New Orleans bore the brunt. 80% of the city was underwater. The storm killed over 1,800 people. Tens of thousands had to be rescued. Those that survived had to cope with deplorable conditions, desperate for the basics, food, water, and shelter. The wrath of Katrina shocked the world and forever changed how we respond to the threat of hurricanes.
We're on our way. We should be in Galveston tonight, and we're expecting a very large surge in this one, so we're gonna have to give a real careful eye.
You know there's a storm coming, you should really evacuate. It's the safe thing to do.
We're out on Galveston, right by the beach right now. Now, you can't see any more beach right now. This is just the big swells coming out in front of the storm.
To experience the weather, to experience the wind, the waves, and everything else that a hurricane throws at you is an incredible experience in itself. But we were about to face the fiercest and deadliest hurricane to hit Texas in over 100 years.
There we go, welcome to Ike. This is Friday morning, and we're starting to see the first little feeder bands come in, and right now I'm standing right by the waves, right at Galveston. It's basically the seawall right here. This thing is packing an enormous amount of energy. Absolutely huge.
The seawall is designed to take all the energy of the wave, and rather than letting it go straight in, guide it upwards. And so the waves would hit and just explode straight upwards. It was built right after the hurricane in 1900, which killed somewhere between 6,000 to 11,000 people. Ike was looking like The Galveston Gale of 1900, Part 2.
This is actually the monument to the 1900 disaster in Galveston when about 6,000 people lost their lives. So it's kind of poignant that we're right here, right now.
The National Weather Service released a strongly worded bulletin warning of certain death if the mandatory evacuation order was not followed.
So has everyone evacuated? Like, is it mostly everybody out now?
No.
So you're feeling that your preparations are best spent at home than fleeing?
Yes, we got plenty of hot dogs, hamburger meats. We got a propane tank outside with a grill, a lot of water, a lot of coffee. We go fine.
If this is just the swells, we're looking at 20 feet of surge on top of this.
And the wave hit straight up. I was like, whoa.
I know that. I was recording.
You're recording!
I was recording that.
That was big.
All right, this is amazing. The surge is already coming in really strong now. This is no longer swells. This is actual surge. And we're seeing overtopping roads all around us right now.
We filmed a bunch of hotels that are built on piers out over the ocean. And the waves came in, and the little ramp that went up to the hotel, the parking garage, had already been blown upwards and was gone. And this is one of the most unique things I've seen in hurricanes was the fires. Fires just everywhere in Galveston.
We got a major fire going on right behind me. It's a yacht club. Part of their store has gotten fire, and it's burning pretty much out of control. Firefighters can't get in because of the flooded roads.
You could hear the crump of the diesel engines and the diesel gas tanks exploding in there, and you could see the explosions. The smoke was going 100 stories in the air, just 1,000 feet in the air.
Ike's really starting to come in now. Wind speeds are definitely ramping up, and we'll be moving, I think, over to a parking garage real soon.
There was a parking garage here and a parking garage sort of across this little gap. And because of where we were, we actually got the eye of Ike directly over top of us. Ike came in with a vengeance. The winds were screaming. The Category 2 hurricane was relentless, ravaging the area for over 9 hours. And we watched this thing through the night.
Very early in the morning, I have no idea what time it is. Ike is taking Galveston apart. It's actually strange as it's come on land. Really unusual. There's debris flying everywhere. I can't get back to my original spot.
When you're in a hurricane, you're in the worst of the weather, and we felt it. When the sun came up, that's when we realized just how much destruction this storm had caused.
The damage here is nothing short of catastrophic. What's behind me are the remains of a, what we think was a Hooters, or at least a restaurant in this area that used to be out over the ocean and now pretty much piled up in a massive pile behind me.
Once we got out on our way back towards Houston, we came across something that I'd never seen before, which was a highway full of boats, big boats. The entire southbound lanes of the highway were littered with sailboats, fishing boats, yachts. It was incredible.
This is absolutely surreal. I'm walking through what is pretty much a boat graveyard.
It was just amazing to see the amount of debris that was in that highway. I was never gonna see something like this again. Despite the serious warnings of storm surge and certain death, 40% of the local residents chose not to respond to the mandatory evacuation order. The rationale? A Category 2 hurricane was not sufficient motivation to flee. This lack of compliance led to significant fatalities. 112 people lost their lives to this massive, relentless hurricane. October 28, 2012, millions of people in the crosshairs of a deadly, powerful superstorm.
Welcome to Joyzy. We are about half hour outside of New York City.
Originally, we thought it was going to just be out to sea, no problem. And as we got closer and closer and closer, we realized that it was going to do this left-hand turn right into the city.
Yeah, she's made that northwest turn coming right towards the Jersey Shore. Oh my God, that's going to coincide right with high tide, of course.
Sandy came in at the absolute worst time, and that meant that you were going to get massive storm surges in Manhattan itself. Now you have New York City staring down the barrel of an extremely strong hurricane. And I can tell you, New York was, they were nervous in New York.
There's already emergency services set up for, say, evacuation, or schools have set aside certain provisions, water and everything, for the community.
The winds were just screaming through there, blowing transformers, wrecking all kinds of computer equipment.
I'm here underneath the Throgs Neck Bridge at Willard's Point in Queens, New York, on the northern side. And you can see the flooding has already begun.
And we watched the storm surge come up in minutes. It was just amazing. We were there maybe 2 hours, and by the end of that 2 hours, I was up to almost my waist in water, and we could already see houses going underwater at that point.
The surge is much higher. This whole area is likely to flood out far more. Sandy is definitely coming into New York City and making a huge mess.
We knew at this point we had a serious problem, and the winds were still offshore. When that wind switched around to come onshore, we knew that the Rockaway Beach was going to be gone. Started to get dark, and then we're seeing surge even now as far as we were inland. And I'm standing there in the street, and I'm literally watching it come up to my knees on the street. And we were saying, we got to get out of here before we get completely cut off.
Flooding is already getting quite bad, as you can see behind us, so it looks like we may have to move back.
And then Sandy just began to come in with a vengeance. And we just barely managed to get out of there.
Right now, we've got 3 more hours to go before the tide is all the way up. And with this southeast wind, it's going to push the water up even more.
We drove over to the edge of Manhattan. Manhattan was dark. You just don't see that. Half of Manhattan is pitch black. The tunnels flooded out into Manhattan.
We're waist deep in water outside in town, so I don't know what we're gonna do next.
The amount of damage strictly to the subway system and the actual infrastructure in southern Manhattan was incredible. I mean, these pictures that just kept coming back and coming back were incredible. We could follow this whole hurricane real time thanks to Twitter and social media. So we could see all these real-time shots of the storm surge coming in. We could see airplane shots of where the destruction was happening. We were getting reports all over the place. The amount of damage done was incredible. It was such a destructive hurricane, but to actually be in Sandy was quite amazing. I do like seeing these things, seeing the meteorology of them, experiencing the power of these things, but you know, when it does destruction and kills people, it's very difficult. New Yorkers were very shocked at how strong and destructive Sandy ended up being. The power behind this storm was unimaginable. It sent people fleeing for their lives. It decimated entire neighborhoods. In the end, tens of thousands of people were left homeless, and 157 people lost their lives. These hurricane names, Katrina, Ike, Sandy, have been retired, but the names will be etched in my memory forever. They were three of the deadliest and most destructive hurricanes the United States has ever seen, and I was in the heart of every single one of them.